have been made today, but the Just Stop Oil group saying they will continue with their actions and will not be intimidated, as they said, by changes in the law. Well, let's speak now to Lora Johnson, a spokesperson with Just Stop Oil. Laura, thank you very much indeed for joining us. I'm just looking at the figures. 16 arrested today, 20 arrested yesterday, 8 people charged with conspiracy to cause a public nuisance. Are you thinking perhaps you are above the law?
No, not at all. What we are saying is the government is going to destroy our future and people are dying right now and we have to stop new oil.
And how does your protest actually stop that happening? Because clearly a lot of motorists are getting very frustrated with your actions, and indeed Essex police saying that it's putting people at harm, particularly your own protesters.
Well, it's really unfortunate that we've got to this stage, but as I said, we're being lied to and we're being let down, and people they have every right to be angry. We are disrupting their day, but they need to start redirecting that anger at the government and realise that we are not the bad guys. We are calling the alarm.
Well, you are the bad guys in terms of disrupting the major orbital motorway for 2 days running when people are trying to get to hospital appointments, doctor's appointments, trying to get their children to school, trying to get to work. What good does it actually do?
Well, the past has shown us that civil disobedience, civil resistance against corrupt regimes or corrupt governments does actually work. We had 40-degree heat this year. We had birds falling out of the sky, train tracks buckled from the heat. We had wildfires. Over 1,000 people died from 40-degree heat in just 48 hours. What's going to happen next year? This is real now, and people are dying now. And people need to wake up and be angry at the government and not be angry with us.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. They're angry at you at the moment. They're not angry at the government. So is your protest movement actually failing in its main purpose?
Well, we are being talked about more, aren't we? I mean, how do you feel? Are you scared about the future? Do you feel like you're doing enough as a journalist to let your viewers know what's happening?
Well, I'm interviewing you at the moment on that very topic, so I think I'm doing my job at the moment, but I'm also challenging you because many people are getting a bit fed up with the action you're taking. And let me just read to you what the Chief Superintendent of Essex Police said this morning, and I hope you're listening to this. We've had to mobilise a significant amount of resources which should be tackling knife crime, helping investigate sexual and domestic offences and responding to burglaries. Instead, we're having to work hard to prevent criminal acts and respond as quickly as we can where they take place to ensure safety.
Well, I would say that's down to the government. The government are choosing to criminalise.
No. He's directing that at you as the protesters.
Well, I would say the police are there to serve and protect the people. And the biggest threat to humanity right now and the biggest threat to people of this country is the climate crisis. The fire service had their busiest day from the Blitz, and we only had 2 days of 40-degree heat. How many days will we have next year?
And what about those fire engines and emergency vehicles that you actually stop going along the Queen's Highway, even though you so-called have blue light lanes, which have failed on many occasions?
Well, again, this is a problem. We're on here and you want to talk about methods and these hypothetical scenarios with ambulances. People are dying right now.
Well, no, I'm sorry, Laura, it's not hypothetical. You are stopping these vehicles from travelling along the highway, whether it's motorways or main roads in London, including emergency vehicles. And the fire brigade, which you've just mentioned, have said as much.
Well, the government have the power to stop this. It's only the government that can stop this. New oil licensing is a death threat to every person on this planet and every person in this country. Right. We've already had huge food shortages. They will get worse next year. Nobody's talking about it. It's not being given the proper attention it needs.
Forgive me, but they were talking about it in Sharm el-Sheikh yesterday with all the world leaders, including the Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak. But let me put this to you. The quote from Just Stop Oil was, "We won't be intimidated by changes to the law." But given that you've got 16 arrested today, 20 arrested yesterday, 8 charged with conspiracy, and now also a High Court injunction, which means you could be in contempt of court, it could be that many of you just get locked up.
Well, we are actually growing in numbers. More people are waking up and they're realising that the only way to change these corrupt systems is civil resistance against the government. And
Okay.
I think if you spend longer talking about the message and not the method, then people would be waking up faster. It's your job as well. Do you have a family that you care about?
Of course I do. And I'm talking to you about the method, because that is what you are putting out there in the public arena, the way that you're acting, which is why, obviously, I'm talking to you at the moment. Can I just ask you, though, what happens next? Are you going to continue with this type of protest, or do you develop other ways of direct action? What happens next?
What happens next depends on the government. If they say no to licensing new oil, then we will stop tomorrow.
OK, and what about liquefied natural gas, which is coming across the Atlantic, we've been told, from the United States? Is that in the same category as oil, as far as you're concerned?
Renewables are 9 times cheaper. It took 6 weeks to build the biggest solar farm in the UK, 6 weeks. These new oil licenses won't be coming in for the next 10 or 15 years. Renewables are 9 times cheaper. People are facing an energy bill that's £3,500. It could be £400. People are going to be dying in their homes again this winter because we don't insulate our homes, and instead we give huge tax subsidies to fossil fuels. And the government care more about keeping those industries rich rather than their own people. That's the truth. That's what we should be talking about. It's like, don't shoot the messenger, listen to the message.
OK, and we have indeed done that. Lora Johnson from Just Stop Oil, thanks for joining us here on GB News. And, of course, we'll welcome your appearance as we get more protests to discuss that particular topic.